Hello, student. We have started the third chapter in previous video or in previous lecture. So we have done that as we know, as we have done that before the arrival of the British village. Villages were self-sufficient unit and farmers had their own land and very small amount of revenue they had to pay to the king, and during a natural calamity, king gave concession to the farmer. But after the arrival of the British, when British started to collect the tax, uh, all farmers had to pay a tax or revenue in any conditions. It means that British did not give any concession during the natural calamities. So why British need a money in form of tax? British needed money in form of tax to fulfill their needs, like to run the administration and maintain the army and all that. Okay, so British need a fixed amount of money so that they could plan for their expenditures. So they started collect tax under three systems: permanent settlement, as we have done, and then Rayatwadi system and Malwadi system. Okay, so today we will do that. As British started to collect the tax under this system, but this system had a impact on peasants. Clear, a very bad impact on peasants. Let's see. During the British rule, most peasants survive on very small incomes. The company revenue demands, failure of crops, costly social customs such as marriage, festival forced to the peasant to sell part of their land and borrow the money from the money lender. Okay, means what we can say that during the British rule, peasants had very small amount of income, but company to pay the company revenue or the tax, and sometime peasants crops fail, and sometime peasants had a social custom like a marriage in their family and celebrate the festivals. Okay, so for to fulfill all these needs, peasant had to sell their land or sometime borrow the money from the money lenders. Why? Because peasants consider their land as their mother. So while considering the land as a mother, peasant refused to sell, and they borrowed the money from the money lender. Was the only option left to the peasants. Clear? So this is the first impact. Means we can say that peasant took debit from the money lender. Now further, let's see what happened when they once they took loan or debit. So money lender charge very high rate interest. Once in debit, most peasants unable to repay money, and in return, land was taken away by the moneylender, and as a result, landless peasant found impossible to support his family. Means, as a result, when peasants were unable to pay the money, then moneylender take away their land, and peasants became landless, and during this situation, peasants for the peasants, it was very hard to fulfill their family needs. And further, the revenue collection system created a new class of zamindar who completely indifferent to warfare of the farmer. The main motive of the zamindar was to extract maximum money from the peasants, and they did nothing with to improve agriculture. Means zamindar was only to collect the maximum revenue from the peasants, but they were not bothering to improve the agriculture or irrigation facilities. So clear. So these were the impact of revenue systems, three revenue systems. So next, with a cultivation of cash crops. Yes, uh, in 19th century saw increase in the cultivation of the commercial crops as cash crops such as indigo, jute, oilseed, sugarcane, tea, coffee, etc. So these crops used in Britain industry, and so company increased their cultivation. But as a result, decline in the production of food crop increased, and acute shortage of the food supply. So we can say that even now East India Company or the British started to force the peasants to grow only those crops which required in British, or as well as required in the whole Europe. So let's see. Indigo, yes, indigo was a crop. uh, Indigo is a blue colored dye obtained from the indigo plant. It used to dye clothes, and there was a great demand for it in Europe. Britain needed indigo for the clothes because the climate of England was not suitable for growing a indigo. So that's why British forced the peasant to grow indigo, because for demand was very high in Britain, as well as the climate of the England was not suitable to grow indigo. So peasant forced to grow indigo by the British. Next is, to meet the growing demand of the indigo, Britain turned to the India, and company forced the farmer in Bengal to grow only indigo. Yes, the farmer of the Bengals were forced to grow indigo by the British. So in 19th century, Indian indigo was exported to England, and cultivation of indigo required labor. The planter signed contract with the cultivator. Cultivator means peasants, that he would sow only indigo, and with the span of the time, price to be paid cultivator was very less. Yes, but earlier company promised to the farmer that whoever grow the indigo, then company paid a very good amount of the good amount of good amount. But later on, the amount was very less. The peasant who grow the indigo means this amount was so less that even peasants could not meet the family needs. The indigo cultivator was not free so other crops, so because they had signed a contract. Later it was found that indigo was not suitable for the fertility of the soil. As a result, the time came when he they had no option but to grow, but to revolt. uh, After that beta, even after growing the indigo, even farmer or peasants found that indigo was not suitable for the soil. So which on which land once indigo grow, that land turned into barren land. And even second impact was that even there was acute shortage of the food supply, or food crops also. Clear? And that's why so peasants had only one option. That option was a revolt. So peasants started to revolt against British, and peasants clearly refused to grow indigo. Yes, Indigo Revolt. Indigo Revolt of 1859-60 in Bengal was powerful peasant protest, and it was the program of non-cooperation with the planter. Peasants refused to sow indigo on their land, and cultivator attacked the indigo factories. Means they farmers were so aggressive, so they attacked to the factories. Even women took part in the revolt against the planter, but local zamindar also joined the peasants. Revolt forced the government means British government to act immediately, and government set up a commission which suggests the changes in agriculture policies, or in agriculture policies, which imposed by the British on the Indian farmer. But now planters shifted their base to Bihar. Yes, but now when revolt started in the Bengal, then company changed their base. Now company shifted their base, or we can say company started to force the peasant to grow indigo in Bihar, and exploitation of indigo cultivator continued. And I hope you understand this concept. Thank you. Have a nice day.